Hi everyone, this is Sarah again from the South Dakota Agricultural Heritage Museum, and we're here for another Thinking Thursday. And so today what I'm going to be showing you is how to make a garden glove. You can also find all these directions on our website if you visit agmuseum.com and go to the Education tab on the right-hand side. You can see this lesson plus other lessons that I've recorded so far. So the supplies that you'll need for today are a glove. I'm using one of these nice big giant food service gloves to give us more wiggle room. And one of the reasons why I use these is because it gives you a little bit more space in the fingers. And it's also clear, because if it's not clear, the sunlight can't get through to help plants grow. And so your plants won't start to grow, which is kind of a bummer. So we've got this big clear plastic glove. If you don't have a plastic glove at home, that's totally fine. You also have the option to use like a sandwich size Ziploc baggie. And what I did is I just used a stapler and I made a row of staples in the middle and then in the middle of each half. So I've got it split into quarters here. And I just put some staples there so that you have kind of little pockets that your seeds can go in when you start to grow. So you've got something to grow your garden in. The next thing you'll need is 5 cotton balls. And so today we're using cotton balls to replace soil or our growing medium. And the reason why it's fun to use cotton balls and your see-through glove for this is because normally when you plant seeds in the ground, you can't start seeing them grow until they come out of the ground and start sprouting. With this way, you can start to see them grow their roots because it's a clear bag and you can see what's going on typically underneath the soil, which is pretty fun. So after you have your glove and your cotton balls, you'll need some seeds. And today I have just a variety of vegetable seeds here to use. You could also do this using flowers. Really whatever that you want to start growing, you really have the option to be creative with this one. On your seed packets, I will go through. On the back, there is a little map of the United States on the back that shows when you can plant these seeds outside and it'll be healthy enough for them to keep growing. And so that is something that you want to consider right now. Since we're in late April and we're getting ready to start planting, these are great because we can start them inside, and once they grow big enough and grow out of your glove, then you can transplant them or replant them into a pot inside your house, or you can plant them outside in your garden. So either way works, but just make sure you read that map on the back so you kind of know what timeline you're looking at for when your seeds will start to sprout and produce flowers or produce vegetables for you. The next thing you'll need is some water, and so I've got a bowl of water here. After that, you'll need a pipe cleaner and also a sheet of paper and a marker. And so this is something where if you have like a pen or a pencil or a crayon or colored pencil, anything will really work. I'm using a marker today so it shows up a little bit better on the screen. So now that you have all your supplies gathered, the first thing you're going to want to do is take your marker or your writing utensil and you're going to trace your hand on a piece of paper. So when I do this at the museum, this is one of my favorite things to do when school groups come in. I usually have a little printout of a glove on a sheet of paper so that the students can remember what kind of plant that they planted in each of their glove fingers. But today, since we're at home and we might not have an access to a printer, you can just use a scratch sheet of paper and go ahead and trace your hand. Doesn't have to be super neat as long as you've got it traced so that you can write what seeds are in each finger. I'm also going to write on the top of my paper here my name, so that if you're doing this with more than one kid at home, you can keep them separate. And I'm also going to write the date so I remember when I planted my seeds. So I'm going to write that on there as well. So this is what my sheet paper looks like. I've got my name on the top, I've got the date, and I've got my outline of my hand. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. The first thing that you're going to want to do is take your first cotton ball and you're going to dip it right into your bowl of water. Now the goal of this is to just get your cotton ball a little bit wet so you can fully submerge it and make sure that it gets plenty of water. But then we're gonna squeeze it out flat and squeeze the water out. You wanna make sure that there's water in there so that the plant can start growing, but you don't wanna drown it out by any means. So this shouldn't be dripping wet with water, but it should be pressed nice and flat. Since I usually do this with kids, I usually do the analogy of make sure it's flat like a pancake because kids understand food. They're used to that. So make sure it's nice and flat like a pancake. And so I've got that ready to go. After I have that done, I will take a seed, which I've got a little seed here, and I'm gonna put it right in the middle of my cotton ball. It's kind of hard to see. But after you get it in the middle of your cotton ball, you're going to fold your pancake or your cotton ball up in half around the seed. And again, kids know food, so I usually say fold it up like a taco. So it's folded up nice in half right here, and you're ready to put it in your glove. So if you're using a glove, you can go ahead and put it down into whatever finger you're going to use all the way to the bottom. Now, if you are having problems getting that all the way down to the bottom, you can always use your writing utensil and help kind of push it down in there. Just make sure you don't push too hard and push a hole out the other side of the glove, because then you'll have a hole in your glove, which isn't very fun. So I've done that for one finger, and what you're going to do is repeat that in all the other fingers until you have everything filled. If you're doing this in the plastic bag version, if you don't have the glove, it's pretty much the same process. So put your cotton ball in your water, squeeze it flat like a pancake, grab your seed, put it in the center of your cotton ball, fold it up nice and flat like a taco, and put it down into one of your slots. And so the reason why I put the staples in here is so that you could keep these separated so you can remember which one is in which slot. And so after you have that done, the seeds that I just planted were onion seeds. And so I've got that here. If you're using a baggie, the fun thing is you can just take a marker and write right on the baggie that this is an onion seed, and so you don't even really have to use a separate sheet of paper. If you're using a glove, it's a bit harder to write on the glove, and so you can see that I put my onion seed in my thumb, and so I'll go ahead and take my fancy little sheet here and write onion, so I remember that in my thumb I have an onion seed for when it starts to sprout. So after you go through and you fill up all of your slots, then you're ready to close up your glove. So if you're using a baggie, you can just seal the baggie at the top and you're done. You have it all sealed and ready to go. If you're using a glove, you want to make sure that you have something to seal this so that if it gets tipped or bumped, that you have everything still nice and tight here in the bag. And so I like to use a pipe cleaner because it's super bendable and easy to use. And I just gather up the top of my glove and bend the pipe cleaner around, twist it a few times, and then you have it sealed. After you do that, I like to use the ends of my pipe cleaner and mold it into a hook. So you see I've got a hook here. The reason I like to hold in or mold it into a hook is so that when you put these in your window, you can hang this on your window and you can make sure it gets plenty of sunlight to start growing. If you use the baggy version, you want to figure out a way, maybe you can tape this to your window, or you might want to just punch a hole in the top and use a pipe cleaner too and hang that in your window that way. But just make sure that when you when you get done with these, you do put them in your window so that they can get plenty of sunlight to start growing. After a few days, you will be able to start seeing some roots pop through on all your different seeds, which will be really exciting because you don't usually get to see that part of the growing process. And so after a few days, you'll see those roots, and within a week or two, you'll be able to see your plants start to grow in your bags or in your glove. And so after your plants start to grow in a few weeks and they start to get at a decent height, that's when you can go ahead and transplant them into either a pot inside your house with some soil, or you can go ahead and transplant them in your garden. So that was a short lesson here on how to make a garden glove. If you have any questions, you can contact Sarah at the South Dakota Agricultural Heritage Museum. But thanks again for joining us this week, and I hope you have a good rest of the week.